Street to help small business owners have the same capital as corporate America and give them the same resources as a larger company. We cover business funding, business credit, scaling, business consulting, and much more. Check out the website at shieldadvisorygroup.com. Welcome to the show, The Liquid Lunch Project.
Go. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Liquid Lunch Project. I am Matthew R. Meehan alongside my partner, the Professor Luigi Rosa Bianca. What's on tap today, Lou?
Matt, I know I speak for the both of us when I tell you the toughest challenge you and I have had over the last year or so was writing our book. It was a Herculean feat for us. We're not authors, but we also see that there's a trend out there that authorship has become part of the mainstay, especially in the entrepreneurial space. So many decisions to make. Do I self-publish? Do I go to a publishing house? And everything in between. So today we have the expert, the preeminent Michele DeFilippo, founder and president of 1106 Design. Michele, please give us the do's and don'ts of self-publishing versus the do's and don'ts of going to a publishing house. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I guess I would have to start with what should be obvious and isn't necessarily obvious anymore, is that you have to start with a quality book. If you expect people to buy your book or be impressed with your book, it had better be at the traditional publisher level of quality in terms of design and editing and everything about it, because people, what you show the public, your package, starting with the cover design, builds credibility for your book. And if people buy your book and they find it's got typos inside and it's not typeset well, they're going to wonder whether or not the advice you're trying to give them is credible. So it's, quality all the way is the first rule in my book.
Oh, that's so true. I would not even pick up a book if I didn't think that it would, if it didn't look good, right?
Yeah.
People are buying with their eyes before they're even picking it up. So how did you get in the self-publishing world?
Oh, I've been in the publishing business in one form or another since 1972. I opened a typesetting business in 1980, an old-fashioned computer typesetting business.
What is that? What is, for somebody like me, what is it? I don't know if that is. What is a typesetting business?
Okay.
Michele, please forgive this young whippersnapper.
That's quite all right. It's fun to go back and remember those days. I don't know how we got anything done, but back in 1980, there were computer typesetting machines that we would typeset a book in gigantic long strips of paper. And then we would actually cut and glue the paper to boards, page at a time, paragraph at a time, and send it to a printer for printing. And that typesetting machine cost $35,000. And each font that we purchased cost $125. So it was an interesting investment. By 1993, Steve Jobs put me out of business with his Macintosh. He put every typesetting business in the world out of business with his Macintosh. And then everything became done on the desktop. And that's really what we're still doing today. But we're still implementing the traditional publisher quality standards that we were all trained to do.
But he also put you in business because it made your current business possible.
Well, I guess you could look at it that way. Computers made my current business possible, also made it possible to work everywhere with authors everywhere in the world, which is always exciting.
Michele, help us wrap our arms around the fact that all work is derivative. So when you're looking at a manuscript or a piece of work, how do you realize that this is novel and unique with a positive spin versus something that was a copy and paste?
Well, that's a great question, because one of the worst things you can do if you self-publish a book is to put out the book that you think is a great idea without having done the research first. The better way to go about it is to find out what the burning problem is in your market, in your target market, and solve that problem for them. And then they will buy your book and they will tell everyone they know about it. Marketing is kind of expensive, so you can market a book with an initial marketing push, but after that, word of mouth and good reviews have to be what takes over from there.
So Jane and John Shmulewitz come to you and they've got a beautiful manuscript. Now what? What are the next steps?
The next step is we do an editorial. We start with an editorial evaluation where the editor will take a 30,000-foot view of the manuscript and identify weak points and writing weak points that may exist in it. We'll then send it back to the author for correction. Author sends it back to us, and then we'll start a copy editing phase where the editor gets down into the nitty-gritty of grammar and punctuation and redundancy and style and all of those things. After that, we'll design a cover. We'll design the interior pages of the book. People don't understand what that means. They say, what do you mean you have to design the interior pages? There's a whole process for that so that the book is easy to read and that the readers are not distracted by poor spacing and other distractions that can happen on a page of text. So we'll typeset the book. Then we'll send it to a proofreader who will go over it with a fine-tooth comb, catch everything that every editor and author and typesetter missed along the way. And then we will make those corrections again. And then we'll get the author set up with distribution so that when they sell a book, they get all of the money sent directly to their bank account, never to us first. And that's not what happens with a publishing company. We are an author services company, not a publisher. We don't take control of the book in any way.
You know, Michele, you've been doing this for a really long time, right?
Yes.
I didn't even know what typesetting was. So it's been a while, right? But I guess over the last couple of years, I'm seeing all these new publishers, hybrid publishers, people on the internet just saying, hey, send me some money and I'll do this for you. What's going on out there?
I wish I could explain that. I don't know. To me, it seems like common sense to work with somebody who doesn't take your revenue after charging you to produce the book. But it's a remarkably difficult mindset to break through. Authors, I guess, think that they need to go find a publisher when they've finished their manuscript. But Amazon changed all that. Now it's possible for anyone to get print-on-demand printing, publish their book in their own name, and realize all the revenue from sales instead of just a royalty. So if someone's shopping around for a publisher and you see the words free ISBN, free LCCN, free barcode, free copies of your book, chances are you're working with a self-publishing company that's going to take control of your book and also take revenue that they really don't deserve if they've charged you for services in the first place.
Michele, let's play devil's advocate. What is the position of a Simon & Schuster or a Crown or a Penguin? What is their opinion? Like, why do they feel they're still a necessary cog in the publishing wheel?
Well, that's interesting. I guess big publishers, we work with an agent sometimes who has a good book and he can't place it with a traditional publisher. Traditional publishers have lots of expenses, right? They've got warehouses and distribution channels and all of that. So they want authors who have 100,000 social media followers. That's what this agent told me one time. So they want somebody who already has a big platform and can actually market the book for the publisher. You know, people like maybe Bill O'Reilly or Oprah. Okay. Sure. And that's the only way they can meet their expenses that they've built up. But there's many people who can write a book and can distribute a book on a lesser level. And for them, self-publishing is really interesting because they can promote the book in their own way for as long as they want to. A traditional publisher will promote a book for 6 to 9 months. Then you're on the backlist. Then they're off to the latest thing. But an independent publisher can market the book indefinitely. I've been selling my little book since 2012, and it's earned me more money than I could ever have imagined when I first put it out.
So, Michele, do you see the industry being divided into two tiers, where you have the Dan Browns of the world going to the big publishing houses, and then you have the Matt Meehans and the Lou Rosabiancas going to 1106 Design to get their book published? Or is there a hybrid solution somewhere in between?
Well, that's where the trouble comes in, right? There are people who claim they're a hybrid solution between traditional publishing and self-publishing, but the problem is self-publishing has become misdefined. It in the mindset, it's now kind of taken on the flavor of do-it-yourself publishing, and that has given self-publishing a bad name, because we've all seen the terrible books that result when somebody does tasks that they're not qualified to do. So that's where we come in. We give people the top quality work and also let them keep all of the revenue from book sales.
So what Luigi's saying, I think there's actually a bigger swing the other way. I think when you have these audiences already, and if you have an audience, people understand the value of their audience. So they're not going to the big time publishers, and they're self-publishing themselves because they have the distribution. So what do they really need the publisher for, unless they want a big upfront check before it's built?
Well, I guess it conveys some level of credibility, but you're absolutely right. A lot of people are saying, why do I need a publisher if I have a platform already? And why do I forget where I was going with that?
No, but it's almost analogous to the music industry.
Yes.
So I have a question for you, since you've been in this realm forever. So you have all these lists. You have New York Times bestseller. You have Amazon bestseller, which, I mean, we've all read the articles, and you could hack it. I think if you make a book about sports medicine and you put it in the gardening section where there's no books sold and you sell 10 books, you're a bestseller, right?
Yeah.
But how does a New York Times bestseller work?
A New York Times bestseller is the real deal. It's calculated by sales from the Nielsen company, so it's perfectly legitimate. Sometimes I worked with a PR agency here in Phoenix that generated a New York Times bestseller for.
Because when the Nielsen company calls the households at 9 o'clock at night, no one ever lies.
Yeah, and not only that, even that system can be tricked, because if the author has a big enough budget, they can get 15,000 people to buy the book in a defined hour of time, and that makes them a bestseller.
Really? Only 15,000?
Well, yeah.
Does it have to be, okay, so I read up on this. We wrote a book a while back, but I was reading up on this. It doesn't have to be certain areas of where the book is sold in different places too? Is there anything like that?
That I'm not sure about, to be honest with you.
It's the bestseller in Juneau, Alaska.
Well, I do know that there are people in the self-publishing space who promise authors a bestseller, and they do exactly what you described, Matt. They put it in some obscure category. They get a couple of hundred people to buy the book, and then Amazon puts the badge on there, and they're waiting to be able to take a screenshot the moment that badge appears. And from that point on, the author is saying, I'm a best-selling author. But you know what happens? Nobody believes it anymore, right? Do you believe it when somebody you never heard of claims to be a best-selling author?
When I see on somebody's LinkedIn profile featured on Fox and Forbes and this and that, all right, we all know the hack. It's been around forever. It's like at this point, you're losing credibility from it.
I think so, right? It means you posted a comment on the Fox blog.
Michele, I have to ask you a question, because I was proven wrong so many times in one instance. Years ago, someone gave me a gift. It was the precursor to the Kindle. So I don't remember the brand, but whatever it was an early book reading device, and it was low tech and it was terrible. But I literally said to myself, this is the end of print. No one is ever going to print another book again, because this is so much easier. Why was I so wrong?
Print books are holding their own and outselling ebooks. I thought the same. I thought the same thing. I think it's because people are looking at computers all day at work, and there's
the tactile pleasure of rabbit earring and touching and swiping the pages.
I think so.
And I forgot to mention, we also do ebooks, but an ebook screen is generic. It's bland, and it has to be, so that book can be read on different size screens. The text has to reflow to fit the screen it's being read on. It's not real typesetting. In a book, you can do real typesetting. That's beautiful. The text is designed to go along with the content. We work every paragraph, every line, every
so it's the experience. It's the experience of reading that people enjoy.
Yes, and it's also relaxing. You can curl up in front of the fireplace and
Hold on a second. So relax, reading a print book is analogous to going to a restaurant.
Yes.
Right? You can do a hungry man dinner, or you can do takeout. But when you go to the restaurant, you have the experience, and that's what a print book does.
Yes.
So I'll tell you what I've been doing a lot recently, right? So my wife did buy me a Kindle. I don't think I've used it once, but I do a lot of ebooks. And if I like the book, I order the print book because I'm the type of person that I'll highlight it. You'll pick up one of my books. The lines will be like, it'll be highlighted. There'll be circles in there drawing around something I like. So I go back to it later and reread it. But that's what I do. And actually, a lot of people that I speak to start out with the ebook. And if they like the book, then they move and get by the print version of it.
Right. That's an interesting way to
Not
go.
the ebook. I'm sorry, the audio book. The audio book.
And audiobooks are selling like hotcakes. It lets people multitask, right?
Yeah.
And if you, especially, we have AI narration now, which sounds like a robot. I'm not a fan of it, but if you have a trained narrator reading your book, they can bring it to life like nothing else.
Michele, let me ask you another question about authorship. There are some authors that just hit home run after home run after home run. I mean, is there an art form to writing a book, or is the machine just selling it for them? Okay, walk us through how that works.
Well, I think if you're Stephen King and you've lightning struck and people decided they liked your format and what you do with stories, then it's easy to keep writing a book a year and just keep that machine going. Develop the reputation. But that's really rare. Which and that's why I think when companies tell an author they're going to be a bestseller, I think that's really not true, and it's a kind of an abuse of their hopes and dreams to do that. Even major publishers have failures with all their resources and all their knowledge. They have their some books that flop, so it's very difficult to become a best-selling author in the publishing world.
I just heard something about an author, and I don't want to say the name because I'm probably going to butcher it and get it wrong. And somebody's going to call me and say, no, you're wrong. But he writes something ridiculous, like 40 books a year, and he puts them out. But he does not write the books. He actually figured out the framework of the book for the audience that he goes after, right? And he made a business out of it. So all they are doing is producing books and producing books and producing books.
James Patterson.
That's exactly who it is.
He always brings in, he brings in other authors, and it's true. He does have a format. I don't particularly care for it.
It's like the Thomas Edison Menlo Park laboratory. He has a system, so you could have 20, 30 people, but it's all under the Edison umbrella.
Yeah. What I found annoying about the books of his that I read was that a chapter was a page and a half. I found that many interruptions really annoying.
Yeah.
But that's his format.
He created a business out of it, right? He didn't sit there and write. It didn't take him 2 years to write a book. He just figured out a formula, and he's that churn and burn style. Let's pump out as much volume as we can, right?
Yeah.
I respect that from a business point of view, but what he also does from a business point of view too is, I think, so you know how like Donald Trump will license his name to a hotel. He'll do other books with people and say it'll be like I don't know, Barack Obama with James Patterson, right?
Yeah.
But somebody else is writing the book entirely, and it's none of them. It's the craziest thing in the world. It's all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. No, he is brilliant in that respect. Yeah.
So
and the romance authors do that too. They just change the names of the characters and a few details, and they've got a new title.
And Michele, what catches the romantic eye of Hollywood on these books? Like, why are some authors so prolific in Hollywood's eyes while others are untouchable?
Oh, I guess because they know how to write, and the screenwriters know how to work with them. That's another area. I'm glad you brought that up, because there's a lot of scams in the self-publishing world. Predators, really, who go after authors and say, we can get your book made into a movie if you just pay us, a couple $1,000s to pitch them and to write a script. That's always a scam. The emails come from the Philippines. And all it is taking the author's money for as long as they're willing to give it to them, and nothing ever happens. So please avoid that.
So Michele, what's in the future for 1106 Design? Are you going to be self-publishing books forever, or what's the next stage in your illustrious career?
Well, I'm almost to the stage where I really don't have to do that much, which is great. I have a team of 20 people helping.
Wow.
I have 2 project managers, a salesman. So now I get to do the fun stuff like bookkeeping and putting out fires every once in a while.
You're a slave driver.
When you first started the business, it was just you. When we were speaking off screen, you said you couldn't find a job when you moved to Phoenix, right? And you
Yeah.
decided to get into typeset and then move here. How was that transition from going just from you to actually putting a team in place?
Well, the typesetting business, I needed a team. You just couldn't do everything, right? I had to have typesetters and camera operators for the people who remember how it was done in those days. And then I would be the traffic manager. I was the person in the front of the room making sure everything got done. And then when the typesetting business ended, I started freelancing, and I got to the point where email actually changed the way I did business, because all of a sudden I couldn't answer all the emails that were coming in and do the work too. So then I just started reaching out one person at a time to get help. And now it's where we are today.
So how did you market yourself in the beginning?
I advertised. There's a great organization called Ally, which is all about quality in self-publishing. I advertise with them. They have an invaluable watchdog group that lets authors know who does the job right and who's questionable in terms of integrity. So I advertise with them. I write articles for them. We're a recommended provider at Ingram Spark, which is the main print-on-demand publisher. John Ingram sends us books. When he runs into a friend that needs a book, he sends them to us. And I've never met the man, but we do a good job, and he knows that, and so we work with him. And basically, I write blog posts. I'm doing podcasts. I'm doing social media. I have a newsletter on Substack. I'm doing everything I can think of, and it's sometimes frustrating.
Michele, can you help the audience of prospective authors understand the financial math behind self-publishing? Give us a scenario in where an author would go to a publishing house, and just give us a typical, I don't know, $25 book. And then give us a scenario where 1106 would help that same author, please.
Thank you for asking that. Yes, I have those numbers right in front of me here. If the retail price of your book is, let's say, $20, now the retailers, Amazon and all the other retailers, take what's called a wholesale discount for putting your book on their site. So Amazon charges a 40% wholesale discount off the cover price, which would be $8. Ingram Spark, because it feeds physical bookstores and libraries and other distributors, takes a 55% wholesale discount, which is $11 off that cover price. Print cost might be about $4. So the net to the author at 40% wholesale discount would be $8. Net to the author from Ingram Spark would be $5, right? Now, if you work with us, that's what you get. It goes directly into your bank account. If you work with self-publishing companies or other publishers, they're going to take a piece of that revenue and pay you what they call a royalty. I've seen numbers as low as $1 going to the author. So the publisher or the self-publishing company is making more money than the author does on the book after they have charged them for services. It's pathetic.
Thank you. I think you helped shed some light on how the math works in the publishing space. Now, if a prospective author were to hire either 1106 Design or another firm, give us an idea of what they should anticipate in the way of consulting fees. Is that what you call them?
Well, it's the consulting we do as the project progresses, but basically we charge for the services we provide: editing, cover design, interior layout, proofreading, ebook formatting, and distribution setup. We take it all from manuscript right to market, and we do it in the author's name so that they never lose control of the book.
What's the favorite publishing project you've ever worked on?
I have to say it's the Churchill book. Yeah, that the text was complex, lots of quotes, lots of footnotes, and it was, we felt like we were doing something meaningful because he was looking at history. That author was looking at history from a different perspective. Like you said earlier, there's how many books about Churchill, but this one was different.
And he's a fuddy-duddy topic, so it was probably fun to write about.
Well, there's a lot of people who were interested in Churchill, and I guess always will be. He was a great figure in history.
So what are some ways that you've seen your clients, and your favorite ways you've seen your clients market their book after, post, it's ready to go? in production
the-
outside of the traditional social media?
Yeah, the business people know what to do. They will help. They will work with us. We'll create a quality book, and they will use that not so much to sell at retail, because it's really difficult. Even with the numbers I gave you, it's difficult to make much money selling a book in a retail environment. In fact, one of the early self-publishing gurus used to say a bookstore is a lousy place to sell a book, and he's actually right. So a book can be a revenue generator in other ways, by getting consulting gigs, by giving people an opportunity to learn about your company before they make contact, before they talk with a sales representative. That's what my book does, Published Like the Pros. And I give this away on my website at 1106 Design. And it's short, 88 pages, a quick read, lets people know what we're about and what the industry is about and what they need to do to go about creating a quality book. And it has gotten me more jobs than I can count.
So,
That's awesome.
So writing a book to establish yourself as an authority figure is a wonderful tactic for the small business owner out there.
Absolutely. If you do it well. I mean, there's a lot of, poor books out there, and that doesn't, I wish more people understood the importance of doing a good book. And it takes a lot of time and effort to do that, and expense, but it's important because that's how people are judging you.
But then we would have all these forest fires. So sometimes we have to write bad books.
I'm sorry, what?
Sometimes we have to write bad books just to eliminate all those forests.
Well, I think ebooks and audiobooks and print books are going to stay around for a while. And Smart Publisher will release the book in all formats so that the buyer can make the decision and you don't make the decision for them.
Michele, thank you so much for being here. We want to be respectful of your time. Can you actually tell the audience how they can get in touch with you and everybody over at 1106 Designs?
I sure can. Our website is 1106design.com. And like I said, if you give us your email address, you can get a free copy of my book, Published Like the Pros. And we will not spam your inbox like is so common today. I promise. We're not going to send you 2 emails a day for the next month until you get frustrated and block us. If you want a consultation, you can click the button for that, and we'll have a respectful first phone call with you and find out about you and your book and find out if we're a good fit for each other.
So I have a question on that. Let's say I call you up, we set up a consultation, and I say, hey, Michele, I want to write a book, but I'm not really sure what category it's going to be in. Meaning, is it like a self-help category? Is it the business category? Is it a multi-category? And is there a proper framework for each category, or does it depend on the outcome you want from the book?
Well, you should determine the category really before you start writing, because you have to write for the audience in that category. But then at the end of the job, we have a little software program that scours Amazon for categories and keywords. And so we'll recommend what categories to put in when we set up your title in the distribution network and what keywords to use so that it has a very good chance of being found. Sometimes I'll recommend that an author change the title because some titles are just not well thought out. You have to think of Amazon as a search engine. So your title and your subtitle should have the keywords that people are likely to be looking for when they're searching for information on Amazon.
Michele, thank you so much for being here. Everybody, that's a wrap for the Liquid Lunch Project. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the show. And make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend. We'll see you on the next episode of the Liquid Lunch Project.